The question of freedom has always stirred the minds of mankind. How independent are we in our decisions and actions? Isn't our freedom just an artfully created illusion? For a long time, it was believed that people were controlled through fear, repression, and violence. However, the modern world shows much more sophisticated methods of influence, where pleasure becomes an instrument of deprivation of freedom. George Orwell painted a bleak picture of a future dominated by brutal censorship and totalitarian government. But Aldous Huxley envisioned an even more insidious scenario. A world in which coercion is no longer necessary because people are so absorbed in entertainment that they lose all desire to resist. Today, this dystopian vision no longer seems like a fantastic warning, but more and more like the reality in which we live. Imagine a laboratory mouse in a cage. If it is constantly starved, it will naturally look for ways to escape. But what would happen if instead it was regularly and effortlessly fed small portions of cheese? Would she want to break free? This simple experiment raises important questions about the nature of freedom and control in modern society. There is no longer a need to expend effort in search of sustenance. The need to flee has disappeared. Gradually, the creature adapts to its new conditions of existence. The cage may even be unlocked, but the captive does not seek escape because the need for food comes first. Now, it is worth taking a close look around. The modern system functions on a similar principle. Society is constantly fed by distractions, an endless stream of entertainment and fleeting pleasures that skillfully maintain a state of contentment that does not involve questions. When a feeling of inner emptiness arises, one does not seek to understand its origins. Instead, he prefers to drown it out with another dose of dopamine, another dose of instant gratification. But can this be called true freedom? Or is it just a comfortable cell within the walls of a modern prison? There are no bars, no guards, no visible barriers. The limitation of freedom lies in small but regular rewards, which are designed to silence man, to keep him in a state of complacency, depriving him of the power to question the existing order of things or to strive for change. If man is truly free, then why does he feel imprisoned? In a modern world saturated with comfort and convenience, anxiety and dissatisfaction paradoxically flourish. Perhaps the root of the problem lies in a distorted understanding of freedom. True freedom lies not only in the ability to realize one's desires, but also in a deep awareness of the motives behind those desires. When this awareness is victimized by the system, when external forces manipulate our needs, freedom becomes a fiction, an illusory specter. But what if the problem runs deeper than we realize? What if it's more than a simple distraction? It is the formation of addiction, the very conditioning that turns man into an insatiable consumer of pleasure, always seeking a new dose, an ephemeral satisfaction that never brings complete satiation. Every touch of a cell phone screen, every click on a video, every pop-up notification releases a microscopic dose of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure in the brain. Unintentionally, we are subjected to a continuous learning process, a subtle training. With each quick reward, our behavior is shaped, our threshold of patience is lowered, and our attention is dispersed. A legitimate question arises. Was it really a conscious choice to live this way? Or are we just puppets, mindlessly reacting to the invisible threads of conditioning? In the earliest stages of its existence, humankind was driven by an unquenchable thirst for rewards, dictated by the harsh conditions of survival. Our ancestors hunted wild animals, cultivated the land, and waged a relentless struggle for food, shelter, and basic comforts. In those days, satisfaction came as a natural outcome of effort and endeavor. However, the modern age has radically changed this paradigm by offering us instant access to all the benefits of civilization. Ready-to-eat food, endless entertainment, and omnipresent social media that ensures constant connectivity have become an integral part of our daily lives. At first glance, this may seem like unquestionable progress, but is there an insidious trap behind it, making us like lab rats in a carefully planned laboratory experiment? In this regard, it is worth recalling the pioneering research of psychologist B.F. Skinner, who convincingly demonstrated that behavior can be effectively reinforced through a system of unpredictable rewards. In one of his famous experiments, pigeons learned to press a button to get food. If rewards were given at strictly defined intervals, the birds would quickly lose interest in the activity. However, when food appeared unpredictably, the pigeons became almost addicted to the process, continuing to press the button over and over again in the hope of another treat. A similar mechanism underlies our fascination with cell phones. All it takes is a swipe of the screen and something new and interesting appears in front of us. The endless feed of news and updates beckons us with the prospect of unexpected discoveries and pleasant surprises, making us return to it again and again. In today's world, when a notification arrives on your phone and a new like appears, it evokes a fleeting sense of pleasure. The person feels like they are in complete control of the situation, but in reality, they are only pressing a button in their cell, eagerly awaiting the next dose of dopamine. It is important to note that this phenomenon is not only observed in virtual space. The food industry is developing products that stimulate the brain to consume more and more without causing a feeling of satiety. Advertising campaigns persistently convince us that we need to make another purchase to achieve happiness. Entertainment platforms skillfully erase the boundaries between episodes, knowing full well that the human brain is programmed to keep watching. As a result, hours fly by unnoticed, and only vague memories of what was watched remain in the memory. However, what is the true purpose of all this? According to experts, people are gradually losing the ability to wait, to work towards long-term goals, to be patient in moments of boredom, and to think deeply. Thinking becomes increasingly reactive and impulsive. The person loses control of his or her attention, which raises a legitimate question: who benefits? Obviously, not the person himself. The brain, addicted to instant gratification, becomes susceptible to manipulation and is easily distracted. At the same time, this system is not only supported by addiction. It takes more than mere interest to keep us from tearing ourselves away from our screens. It takes real entertainment. And in the next section, we will delve into an important question. Is modern entertainment just a way to have a good time, or has it become a powerful tool that distracts us from the things that really matter? Each of us loves a good movie, an exciting series, or a song that can take us away from reality for a few minutes. Entertainment has always been an integral part of human culture, but recently there have been significant changes. If earlier they served as a kind of respite, a brief rest, today they have become a permanent, pervasive, and inevitable phenomenon. And the question that few people ask themselves is, are we simply being entertained, or are we being subjected to certain programming? Aldous Huxley once observed that true control is achieved not through censorship, but through excessive distraction. In his dystopian novel, Oh, Wonderful New World, no one needed to be forced into obedience because people were so absorbed in entertainment that they simply didn't realize their slavery. And looking at the modern world, this prophecy no longer seems so fantastic. Just look at the way the entertainment industry is organized today. TV series are released in seasons, allowing viewers to spend hours watching without noticing how time flies. Video platforms automatically start the next video without waiting for the user to decide whether to continue. Algorithms that surpass us in knowing our own tastes offer content that perfectly matches our preferences, keeping us in a state of satisfied ignorance. Is modern entertainment really true leisure, or is it a subtle form of learning designed to avoid moments of solitude with our own thoughts? The excessive preoccupation with entertainment goes beyond mere pastime, having a profound effect on the formation of worldviews. Cinema and television, for example, not only offer viewers exciting stories, but also subtly reinforce certain ideas, behaviors, and ways of thinking. Social networks, in turn, create so-called information bubbles in which people are confronted primarily with content relevant to their interests, which limits critical perception of information and prevents a comprehensive analysis of what is going on. While the public's attention is absorbed by entertainment, important decisions can be made without proper public scrutiny and awareness. If we analyze current trends in entertainment, a legitimate question arises. Why is there so much emphasis on escaping reality? Are the endless streams of fictional universes and distractions an accident or a carefully planned strategy? What happens when an entire society becomes so absorbed in entertainment that it loses the ability to notice changes in events around it? However, there is an even more disturbing aspect. Entertainment is not only a distraction, but also promotes passivity in society. Constant consumption of entertainment content can lead to a decrease in critical thinking and a reluctance to actively participate in public life. In an age where information and entertainment are more accessible than ever before, there is a legitimate question about the consequences of the universal availability of pleasures. The ease of obtaining information and entertainment and the quick fulfillment of needs are addictive, leading to a gradual loss of critical thinking. The effort required for deep understanding of complex issues begins to seem impossible, and this, in turn, dulls the sense of indignation and indignation, replacing it with conformism and indifference. In today's entertainment-dominated society, it is important to recognize how it affects our ability to resist and think critically. It is not just a matter of simple distraction, but also of creating an inability to react actively to what is happening. Pleasure, skillfully used, becomes a powerful tool of control. Let's imagine a world in which indifference has become the norm. No one feels the need for change, asks questions, or fights for their rights. In such a world, there is no need for repressive regimes, armies, or prisons to suppress dissent. It is enough to provide a continuous flow of entertainment so that people have no desire or energy left for any change. Absolute power is achieved not by physical coercion, but by suppressing the will to act. Resentment gives way to apathy, and the desire for the best is replaced by a bright screen, endlessly distracting from real problems. In an age where the pace of life is inexorably accelerating and the pursuit of instant gratification is becoming the norm, even the slightest discomfort seems like an unbearable burden. However, it is discomfort that is the catalyst for questions, and questions in turn breed resistance. Without this resistance, progress and change become impossible. The modern system does not need to resort to crude methods of suppressing every individual's voice. It only needs to make attention absorbed by an endless stream of entertainment and distractions. Let energy be spent waiting for the next episode of an exciting show, anticipating lucrative promotions, and attending events that promise a fleeting sense of fulfillment. But stop and think. How many times has the feeling of anger and indignation over injustice quickly faded away, buried under an avalanche of entertainment and everyday concerns? How many high-profile news stories of outrage have disappeared from social media feeds, giving way to memes, funny videos, and intrusive advertising? Is this an accident? Or is the very structure of digital culture deliberately designed to suppress strong emotions, preventing them from spilling over into constructive action? Apathy doesn't come on suddenly, like a thunderclap. It creeps in gradually, like a thick fog, enveloping the mind and paralyzing the will to change. When the realization of what is happening comes, the energy to respond runs out. People get used to watching the world collapse around them, feeling only dull fatigue. Isn't this the true purpose of modern civilization? Perhaps society not only distracts people from pressing problems, but also forces them to accept what is coming. Are not people taught to replace righteous anger with fleeting pleasures, smilingly accepting their own powerlessness? This is no longer a mere assumption, but a reality. If this is indeed the case, it begs the question, has anyone foreseen this scenario before? Were there no warnings against a similar fate, and humanity ignored the warning signs? The most subtle form of control is not about forcible subjugation, but about people themselves craving to be controlled. This prophecy was echoed in Aldous Huxley's iconic novel, A Brave New World. The author did not envision a future where people are watched, punished, and silenced. Huxley saw something more sinister. A world in which no one needs to be coerced, because everyone is so absorbed in entertainment that resistance becomes impossible. Today, Aldous Huxley's dystopian foresight is no longer a distant warning, but an apt reflection of the reality around us. In the world created by the writer's imagination, books are not banned because they have lost their appeal to the general public. The information flow has overwhelmed people's consciousness, distracting them from deep reflection on what they have read. Pleasure has turned from an inalienable right into a tool for maintaining social order. There is no need for the authorities to resort to harsh measures because the citizens are so absorbed in entertainment that they are not inclined to critically analyze what is happening. It is enough to look around to be convinced of the absurd abundance of content and the excess of unimportant information. A legitimate question arises. Is it really a conscious choice of everyone? Or has society accustomed people to consume the offered product without asking unnecessary questions? The modern world provides all kinds of benefits while reducing the time for reflection. Limitless opportunities for pleasure deprive the ability to search for the true meaning of life. As a result, humanity has created a world where there is always room for fun, but more and more people are feeling empty, anxious, and lost. How could this happen? The point is that Oh Wonderful New World is not just a figment of fantasy, but a kind of instruction manual to understand the structure of modern society. Everything is arranged in such a way as to turn people into inert consumers. constantly striving for another portion of fleeting pleasures and distracted from realizing the invisible fetters that hold them back. But if humanity is on this path, is it possible to break out of the vicious circle? Is it possible to gain control over one's own life? In a world where pleasure has become a means of manipulation, how can we regain our independence? How can we avoid being part of a system that, by distracting us and creating the illusion of satisfaction, deprives us of the ability to ask questions and live life to the fullest? The solution is not to give up pleasure per se, but to regain the right to control it. The problem has never been entertainment, technology, or comfort. It arises when people become slaves to instant gratification, when reflection is replaced by automatic consumption, when algorithms are delegated the right to decide how to spend time and energy. First of all, it is necessary to regain control over attention, because in today's world, where information flows are booming, it is focus and the ability to concentrate that become the most valuable resources, overshadowing even financial assets. Giant corporations with billions of dollars in capital are fighting relentlessly for every second of human attention. The longer an individual remains distracted and dependent on external stimuli, the less opportunity he or she has to create something truly meaningful and lasting. In essence, the one who has power over a person's attention actually controls his or her life, directing his or her thoughts and actions in the desired direction. The second important step towards self-control is developing the ability to deal with discomfort. True freedom lies not in escaping from all forms of suffering, but in the ability to overcome such unpleasant feelings as boredom, frustration, and lingering anticipation. The modern system, seeking to maximize profit, imposes the principle of everything at once on the consumer, depriving him of the opportunity to develop the valuable quality of patience. However, history shows that the greatest achievements of mankind have been the result of hard work and long effort, as well as the ability to resist the temptation of immediate gratification at the expense of more meaningful goals. Finally, it is necessary to critically evaluate the information content consumed, asking oneself, do the chosen entertainments really contribute to the development of intellect and broadening of horizons, or do they only fill a void without bringing any benefit? Do the social networks used broaden the worldview by introducing new ideas and points of view, or do they confine it by reinforcing existing beliefs and preventing them from being questioned? Such a conscious approach to information consumption will help to avoid manipulation and maintain independence of thought. Every choice a consumer makes is a kind of power, an assertion of his or her will. A natural question arises: who actually determines the course of human thoughts, directs his desires, and shapes his needs? He himself, or a comprehensive system that dictates its rules? Perhaps one of the most important steps on the way to awareness is to rethink one's goals and aspirations. What exactly does a person want to create, build, bring into this world? What is of true value to him, beyond the fleeting tendencies and momentary entertainments imposed from the outside? If an individual does not determine his own path, someone else will inevitably do so, subordinating him to his own interests. Gaining control over one's life does not mean giving up pleasures and joys altogether. Rather, it is about rethinking their role and function. Pleasure should be a conscious choice, not a form of dependence that restrains freedom. It should be a tool for rest and recuperation, not a way of escaping from reality. Pleasure should be only a part of life, not its meaning and center. If this video has made the viewer think about important issues, it shows that he or she belongs to a community of people who can think big and critically. The author is grateful for any contribution, whether it is a meaningful comment that will be highlighted or a simple like that can play a crucial role in promoting the content through algorithms. The author looks forward to the support of the audience in spreading these ideas.